My name is Damalare Sonoiki, and this is not another industry podcast. It's an excuse for me to talk to the most interesting and inspiring people I know in the entertainment industry. Everyone from actors, influencers, to models, producers, writers, journalists, everyone. This episode, I'm joined by Zeta Morrison. So Zeta won Love Island USA recently. This episode is interesting because one topic I've covered with a lot of the different guests has been dating. And, when I talk to everyone, the people who are in relationships are like, oh yeah, my boyfriend's amazing. He's the best. I love him so much. Or, my girlfriend is incredible. Her farts smell like roses and, she walks on water. And, I've been thinking about, okay, well, I'm putting some of these episodes out weeks and weeks, maybe even months later. And one thing I was worried about is, I hope no one breaks up in between recording and the episode. And so Zeta in this episode, she was still with the person she won Love Island with. His name is Timmy. But recently they broke up and she went on a podcast and, said that he, said things that he wasn't the best. And anyway, so I had plans to release this episode. I was like, I'm going to release this one on Valentine's Day because love, Love Island. Who doesn't love love? We're all looking for love in one way or another. But anyway, so this was recorded before then, just to note that. So here is Zeta Morrison.
Yeah. This is the part that people don't see, the production. I just taught Zeta how to download Chrome. What do you use? You don't use Chrome?
No, I just use Safari, Also, babe, it's Zeta.
Wow. I've known you for so many years. I've been pronouncing it wrong.
I was just having this conversation with someone, and it's not you, it's me. So, when I was younger, I had such a hard time telling people, when they said it wrong, I'd have such a hard time being like, it's Zeta. And so I've known people for years, and they'll, call me Zeta. And then other people will be like, I thought you were best mates with them. Why are they calling you Zeta? And I'm like,
oh, wow.
I'm like, it's me. But so now every time I'm like, it's Zeta. So yeah.
Well, okay, I appreciate that, Zeta. I appreciate that. That sounds more refined. That sounds just fancier. It's like I don't know. There's something about the Z. Okay, so there's so much to talk about. So because we met in LA, you were in LA, you were modeling, and then fast forward however many years later, I see you're on Love Island. And you're not just on Love Island, but you end up winning it. So that's what was that journey like? From you were living in, first, I guess, what was your childhood like in London? Because I'm actually British too. I don't really talk about it too much, but I'm British.
I do remember that. I do remember us having a slight conversation about that. Yeah. So I grew up in London, and then I moved to Texas, a very small town in Texas. Yes, this is a very fun fact that only people of my past know about me. I moved to a town called College Station because my uncle worked at Texas A&M. Do you know Texas A&M?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, this is like me saying, I moved to a town called Surrey, or I moved to a town called, West London. Texas, College Station is first of all, football, we call it, American football is king in America, and then especially in Texas. And so, College Station is very, very well known. Texas A&M is very well known. I thought you were going to say a small town, I don't even know, one of these random. No, but okay, Texas has these tiny towns that have 400, 500 people. College Station College Stations are it's a college town too, right?
Yeah.
So it's on. So that's I had no idea about that.
Yeah. So my uncle worked at Texas A&M, so I went there. And then I was literally just hearing shitty comments like, oh, you're so pretty for a dark-skinned girl. And I was like, this is just not the place for me. And
was it from white people or black people or both?
Both. Both. Oh. Yeah.
Well,
it was.
I can't relate to that completely, but growing up being African, I would get called African booty scratcher a lot. And just, being dark-skinned, I don't know, it's always. It's weird because nowadays being African is kind of cool. It's like Burna Boy and Wizkid, and I'll meet Black Americans and they'll know more almost than I do. They'll be like, I like jollof rice, I like egusi. I'm like, who told you about jollof rice? Who told you about egusi? Especially if you're dating someone, you're like, whoa, because I want to be your first African. But But they'll like know more, you know, or Burna Boy, like they know every word to last. They'll be like, you know, I need Ebo and Shy. I'm like, whoa, like y'all used to make fun of me. Like what happened? So it is funny that
the tables have turned. The tables have turned.
Yeah, so you were dark skin. I mean, you know, growing. I mean, yeah, it's weird that like that persists. That's persisted for so long. Like some of the most beautiful people I know are like dark skinned women, but you know, so it goes.
I think so too, and it never was a thing for me really. And then you know, if you're just in an environment where that's all you keep hearing, like it naturally starts to seep in. And I was just like, you know what, this isn't good for my mental health. Like I've got to go somewhere where I'm appreciated. Also, modelling just wasn't a thing in College Station, so I decided to move.
Were you always? Because I feel like certain models like have all like you can. It's funny. You can sometimes tell when a woman has always been beautiful her whole life versus when like they had the awkward phase and like I feel like a lot of models. It's kind of two types: the ones who have just always been the most pretty, and the ones who kind of went through that really awkward teenage phase, and then like came out on the other side of it. It's like whoa, like. It's like you have that one summer where it's like you come back, it's like, oh wait, she's bad now. Like, she's really, Zeta is like legitimately bad.
That's me. That's my story. I've got the ugly duckling story, and then everyone's like, "Oh shit, we had no idea." Like, you got boobs now, you got arse now. Like,
well, I feel like I'm gonna get criticized for this, but I feel like you can tell. The reason I kind of guessed that you went through that phase. First of all, you're like tall, so people who are tall kind of go through a lanky phase. But you also have a lot of personality. Like this, I'll get criticized for this probably, but I feel like one of the markers you can tell when someone's just always had that beauty is that they don't really have to develop their personality as much because they can always kind of rely on their beauty. Whereas like when you meet somebody who's like really pretty but has a really amazing personality like you do, you can like it's like, oh, you went through that ugly duckling phase, didn't you? Because you have to you have to develop like interests and like you have to like you couldn't just be pretty.
You know what? It's just very true. And I take that as a heavy compliment because I feel like if you're going to be beautiful, you might as well be like nice and have a personality and like be smart as well. So yeah,
that's so true. That's so true. I feel like the mean girl trope is kind of very like 20, like early 20, like around the time of the Mean Girls movie. Also, College Station, 120,000 people. 120,000 people, that's not like very small. But the Mean Girls trope, I feel like now it's like you can be really pretty, but also like really nice and like treat people well. It's not just about being like stank and mean.
1,000%. I don't like that. I've never wanted to be that girl. But yeah, maybe it was the curve that I had in being the ugly duckling turned.
So what age was that? And like, what was it like? Did you just like when did it dawn on you? Because I feel like sometimes like growing up, you can kind of tell when a girl doesn't realize she's like pretty yet. Because like, or a lot of times it'll be like when someone either loses a lot of weight or gets their braces off, because they'll still be like entertaining people. It's like, oh, like you don't know yet, like you don't get it yet, like you're actually hot now, like you like you don't have to.
Oh my god, why are you this funny? You've always been such a joker. Like I can't cope. Yeah. It's so funny because this is exactly why I had to move. Even though I was an ugly duckling, I always had this confidence about me. I think just because like you said, I've always had a personality and I've always just like been a good person. I always am like such a vibey person. And so I've always felt that in me, like that's going to connect with someone regardless. And I always just had this confidence about me. And I think that's what's been able to like bring me into, this era.
Well, what was it like being confident before you kind of glowed up? Because I feel like sometimes like pretty girls would be like, will tell like less like uglier girls be like, oh, just be confident. And it's like, that doesn't really work. Like if someone's like not attractive and they're confident, the world is like, who do you think you are? Like, like what's wrong with you? Like, why, like, what business do you have being confident? Who gave you the right to be confident? Like, I feel like the world is very cruel to like ugly women or ugly people, but especially ugly women. But it's just like ugly women who are confident, because then it just confuses people. It's like, wait, like, why are you confident? Like, don't you, like, haven't you looked in the mirror? So, like, what was it like being confident, like, before your glow up?
Do you know what? I actually always say this. Obviously, the world places so much emphasis on beauty. Like, that's the first thing you see. That's what we're just, it's just what you see. It's just what everyone first sees, and so that's the first thing they judge you on. And I just feel like beauty is just another thing. It's just another thing, and no one, like, obviously you could go get surgery, you could go do all this stuff, but before that, no one like runs a race to become beautiful. No one like does anything that's just so honourable to gain looks. So it's like to just solely be like praised on your beauty, like, yeah, it's a cool thing, but you want to have more. And so for other people, it's like, just find what you're good at. Like, find something you're good at. We all have something to contribute to this world. Like, there's people that's really smart, there's people that's really athletic, there's people that, you know, there's so many things. It just happens to be that beauty is the one we place the most emphasis on. So I feel like your confidence can come from so many other things. Like, a girl can be beautiful, but like, can she chat to him the way she chats, the way that the beautiful girl chats to him? Can she, like, you know what I mean? Like, can she do that? Like, you can have so much sauce. It doesn't always have to be solely beauty. And that's what makes people be like, holy shit, like, this girl's like doing something to me. Like, she's not, you know, the typical looker, but like, I'm feeling a vibe, and vibes are just the strongest thing on earth. So
I love the British lingo chat. You know, I listen to a lot of UK. I feel like Drake got me sort of into, you know, first collaborating with UK artists. I was at a party he threw once, and he played like this Lowski song, and I was just like, so then I got really deep into like Lowski and Harlem Spartans, and I started getting deep into like Heady One and like all you know, Dave, and so that whole, you know, but I love the like the just ends and like you know, just all that stuff. You know,
same.
It's I'm you know, I'm an honorary roadman.
Do you have Reeboks? Do you wear Reeboks at all?
No, I have like 2 Reebok sweatshirts, but I have like I don't have the Reeboks now.
As an honorary roadman, you've got to have a pair of Reeboks, man.
Who do you listen to, like UK? Like which artists do you listen to in the UK world?
I love like Central C, as you said, Heady One. Do you know Central C?
I don't know him, but like I definitely, you know, I've listened to him.
He's like, I got commitment issues. If I can afford that bag that you want, then I will lick that for you.
Whoa! I've heard that. I've heard that song.
Yeah, that's his main one that you would know. So I had to quote that one.
Yeah, I've heard. Wow, can you rap? Like, can you spit? Like, is that your next act? Like, you know, model, rapper.
Do you know what's so funny? It's like, you never want to say like, yeah, I can rap. Then you get put on the spot, and then you're like, oh shit. But it's like, when I'm with my mates, or if I was just with you and I wasn't on here, I'd probably spit something, and you'd be like, you know what, you're quite good. You're actually quite good. So yeah, I could do a little something, but I'm not. You know, I'm just gonna keep it.
Yeah, we'll save that. That's I don't know. I always thought it's crazy to me how Central C's been the one that blew up. Because I thought like Lowski would have been like the bit, you know, blow up, and I guess he was kind of in and out of jail. But then like I was like, okay, Heady One. Like then Heady One collaborated with Drake. I was like, okay, Heady's like out of here. But like it's been like Central C's been the first one to really, really cross over. Which
yeah, he's been really, really doing his thing. Again, like, what will you ever know with music? It's just, if you jam, you jam. Like, you know, we love Heady. He's doing well as well. But yeah, Central C's. I'm
a big Heady fan. Okay, so
me too.
Yeah, so him and what are those I think it's like Drillers and Trappers, like him and RV, those we're gonna like lose people. They're like, wait, what is this? But yeah, no, I love this
can we get back on track?
This is for us. No, I shout out to Drake for what he does, what, you know, help, because he's really, you know, even like collaborating with Skepta and all that stuff, like help kind of, I feel like, introduce a whole new group of people. But yeah, I think okay, so College Station, I'm trying to figure out how you had this accent when you lived in College Station. So you must have obviously moved back at some point. So you were in London for a little bit. For how long were you in London at first before you moved to College Station?
I was in London 16 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was in London for like 2 weeks or something. I think I was like born there. Yeah, I was like born there because the hospitals, you know, whatever.
So you were just there for 2 weeks. It's okay. You've done your time though. Wait, so are you a British citizen?
Yeah, I have the passport.
That
used to be one of the best passports to have, but like they're no longer a part of the EU. So I think it's still a very valuable passport, but they're no longer a part of the EU. So I don't know how it works. But
so you're like 21 Savage vibes.
Well, no offense to 21 Savage, but I'm a naturalized citizen. I'm here legally. Like, please don't. I don't need those issues. Although I do love 21 Savage.
Me too.
But yeah, he's your from Angeltown Estates. Wait, so okay, what was your childhood like in London? Because I feel like like you never know. Like some people like grow up in the in the end. Some people grow up up like in the the estates, or I guess the estates can also be the ends. But like some people grow up in like nice areas. Like what was your upbringing like?
Yeah, I grew up in a quite nice area. Not like super posh, but just loads of white people. Like, I just didn't grow up like in the hood or like Croydon or anything like that. Like, I grew up in a town called Feltham. It's like by Heathrow Airport. So, like, anyone who knows that will be like, anytime I say Feltham or Ashford, not near Kent, people will be like, oh. Okay.
So you're a fan. So you didn't get the anti dark skinness in London in London at all, or no?
No, I feel like in the UK, if you're black, you're black. It was only like in America where there is such a discrimination between being light skin and being dark skin.
Wow.
Yeah, there was more colorism there, especially like in the UK and stuff. I feel like stuff is more like swept under the rug, so I didn't feel it blatantly. It's when I got to the States that I was like, holy shit, like getting it from the white people, I'm getting it from the black people, like just can't escape.
What was that like? I mean, did you get very like low? Because I mean, that type of stuff, especially as a child, especially if you're in an ugly duckling phase, like because kids can be very mean to each other. You know what I mean? Yeah. Kids can be very cruel. Like, did it affect you much, or were you just kind of like, whatever?
No, it definitely affected me. I mean, what am I made of steel? Absolutely not. I'm human. But I think I was very, very blessed to be worldly enough to know that your location can really determine the way that people feel. I didn't feel like it was like a global stance about my looks. And so again, that's also why I'd always had this mindset that I wanted to go to LA, because obviously it's everywhere, but in LA, I was seeing dark skinned models on covers of magazines and shit. So I'm like, okay, like I could go somewhere like there and be looked at not just as this ugly dark skinned girl. And so yeah, I always wanted to go to LA for that reason.
Well, I feel like people from LA are gonna hear that and be like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" Like LA has I've seen it firsthand where like certain places, and I feel bad because I'm like, "Wait, why am I going to these places?" But it's like, I feel like in LA, and I hate to say it, but like in LA, like to gain access into certain places, if you have, if you are a beautiful woman, if you have beautiful women with you, it's kind of an entry, right? And I think that I've seen what the standards are for like white women to kind of gain you into those places, and what the standards are for like black women to kind of enter those spaces, and it's like, it's not. So I feel like LA has that as well, right? But yeah, I think maybe Texas might have been worse.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's everywhere, but it's like obviously you want to go where it's a bit better, because like obviously LA has that as well, but then also LA has, like I said, dark skin models on covers, and like I was in West Hollywood and saw like 3 dark skinned gorgeous black women on a Gucci ad in West Hollywood. So it's like it helps the human mind understand like, oh, that's also beautiful. So whether or not they're discriminating in clubs are just, they're like their own different beast, honestly. I don't know when we're going to tackle that. Like they're very fat phobic, everything is very like,
very, very well. Also, you think about I think about even the era around the time that I moved to LA, and like around the time that like we met, it's like you start having, you have Strata Compton, you have Kofi Cerebo. I mean, he's male, but like he's dark skinned. You have like you have Black Panther, you have Lupita, right? You have Danai Gurira, but you have these like I think really Lupita, and like, because I feel like when Lupita kind of became who she was, they started trying to find other like dark skinned. You know how agencies are. It's like, okay, we need our own Lupita now, and so I feel like it's sort of like, I feel like she really kicked down doors. And, like people started kind of looking for darker skin, although it was always kind of like that same exact look of like a dark skin, sort of natural hair, West African. What are your roots? Because I think you're Caribbean, right?
No, I'm actually not. I'm Ghanaian and I'm Egyptian, so I'm a blend.
Oh wow! Okay, that's a very, someone out there is gonna be like, oh, we have to breed. I have to find some Ghanaian's gonna look for an Egyptian or vice versa. Like we have to have a beautiful daughter or a beautiful son, just like her. Okay, so when did you move? When did you move to LA from? I guess you moved there from College Station.
Yeah, so I was 19. I went to go visit LA at 18, and I made the move at 19. So I've been in LA for 10 years now.
Okay, I'm so impressed by that because I was like I always wanted to move to LA, but I had this, because I went to Harvard, and like I always had this. Yeah, it's whatever. I always had this perspective that I wrote for the Harvard Lampoon, so I met all these TV writers, and I was like, I want to do that. But everyone at Harvard kind of goes down the very corporate, investment banking, Wall Street, consulting path. And I always felt like, oh, I need to save up, $500,000 and then I'll move to LA. And so I'm always which is now looking back, I'm like, that's so dumb. I had an agent, I could have just moved. But I look at people who just kind of moved with I talked to somebody who's like, yeah, I wanted to save up $2,200 and move to LA. And he said a friend of his just or somebody a mentor was just like, oh, that's all you need. I'll just give it to you. Like people who have kind of have made that move with sort of, hey, I had this goal and I'm just going to do it. How did you get the confidence? Because I never had that. I think part of it was that, at Harvard, everyone who was always doing something that was different was the child of, a governor, the child of Rudy Giuliani, the child of Elliot Spitzer, the child of, a billionaire. And so I was like, oh, that's for them. Those people can chase their dreams. I need to kind of having African parents and stuff too. So how are you able to just kind of be like, yo, I'm making this move. I'm 19. That's a pretty young age. And to have the confidence to do that.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I don't know. I think I was so unhappy where I was at that I didn't care what I had to hustle or go through to get out of that situation.
Wow. You're like, yo, College Station was hell.
Yeah, sorry to anyone in College Station. I did meet, a few cool people there, I guess, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. That's that. What can I say? I have to tell my truth. But yeah, I just also I think when you're really passionate about something, I was extremely passionate about modeling and acting, and so yeah, when it wasn't peaches and roses getting to LA, I actually lived in a studio apartment with 2 other girls, a pit bull and a chihuahua. So
let's talk about that because I feel like I feel like in LA, you'll someone you dated will end up on a billboard someday. You'll always see people who just kind of end up on a billboard, or someone who owes you money, you'll see them on a billboard. And I mean, the reverse also happens.
Not owes you money. I'm fucking wheezing. That is so funny.
Really? Someone who owes you rent money they'll be on a billboard. But the reverse also happens too, where people will go from the billboard and then back down. But I think that people always people see the overnight success, but people talk about that because I feel like people don't realize even people think that a lot of things come quickly. Actors, models, there's often that, and a lot of people don't even make it past that stage. But that stage of being, 3 deep and I was lucky in the sense that I was able to skip a lot of steps. I got on Blackish kind of directly, but I never had that kind of oh, I'm an assistant and I'm hustling and struggling type of phase. Yeah. Which I almost feel not that I was I'm not gonna glorify it, but I feel I was almost robbed of it because it's I think it makes you appreciate the other side more. But talk about that experience of the 3 there's always that stereotype of these LA girls you'll see them having a bunch of followers. Not saying that was you, but they'll have a bunch of followers. Yeah. They'll really be it's 5 of them in a 1-bedroom, and they're sharing that Prada purse or something give people the truth. Give people the before the days before stardom.
Yeah. So it's actually all backwards for me. I really, really started from the bottom. Now we here type vibes because I was in a studio. I was in a studio apartment. It was 1,200, which is a dream to me today.
Was it North Hollywood? Because I feel everyone started
talking North Hollywood. It was in Hollywood, but guess what? I've lived all over LA. I've lived in North Hollywood. I've lived in Panorama City. Do you even know where Panorama City is?
Oh yeah, no, I had a friend who lived there. It's It's like north of North Hollywood.
Yeah, it's north of North Hollywood. So.
It's not that far. You're making it seem like it's like San Francisco or something. Okay, it's a little bit far. But...
It's north of North Hollywood. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I mean, I've lived all over, and I've done the little dance. I've actually I'm not trying to bring it to any emotional levels because we're literally going to jump after I say this, but I've actually even been homeless in LA. Like I had like my rubbish bin bags and I left it outside of a motel, with my clothes in it. And then I was going out and I was meeting people and like taking showers, like at the girls' houses and stuff. And they had no idea I was homeless.
How long did that last? I didn't know this.
Yeah, that lasted about like 3 weeks. It was like the scariest time of my life. And I didn't want to like tell my mum or anything. So I didn't want her to be like, you need to leave LA. Like, it was just a really, really dark time, honestly. But I still...
Around what time was that? Around what time was that?
That was early days, like 1920, like 20 years old, yeah. Yeah.
Well, around what? I guess that's what, 2000 and 16-ish, maybe?
Yeah. 4, 5, 6. Yeah. No, like 14.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I've done the whole dance with just... being extremely broke and just all that stuff.
There's this guy who I'm gonna have like it's where I feel like this podcast is like kind of like a mix of where like some of it is like it's probably like a third celebrities, like bigger celebrities, and like maybe like a third kind of more smaller celebrities, and like a third just people who I like and who are interesting. And there's this guy I know who's Pavi, and he has this viral tweet from December 6th, 2017, and it has like a bunch of retweets, and it's like, you'll think a girl out of your league. ... whole time she homeless ... LA a crazy town, and it's got 4,198 retweets, 949 quotes, 16,600 likes. So I didn't even know that happened. But that's so. I mean, I never really saw it myself, but I've always heard the stories of like guys being like, oh yeah, like I was like one of my first experiences. I had a friend who like he said that like he had went out, met a girl, they met, she came to his place. She's like, can I shower? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. Like, yeah, you can take a shower. Yeah, sure. But it turned out, like, no, she was like, she didn't have a place to stay, and I think that's like, I feel like people see I think that like now there are easier ways to kind of monetize beauty, like with OnlyFans and like Instagram, like with Instagram, with OnlyFans and stuff like that. But I think that people don't realize like a lot of what you see isn't really real, right? Like a lot of like the stuff that you see isn't. I mean, look, there are like, I don't know, like there really are people who are like, especially with comparison on social media, where you're seeing somebody's life and it's like you're seeing someone's highlights. You're not seeing like, I'm sure someone who's following you on Instagram back then isn't seeing like your clothes are in the or like in the in your bags and like your shower, like, so I think people don't like, it is like you went through that to get to where you are now. I think that people always want to skip steps. People never want to like. Or even sometimes I appreciate you even sharing that, because I think even sometimes people will like sanitize their backstory and like kind of gloss over the sort of darker parts. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Of course. For me, like my circumstances always mirrored exactly what I was going through. And like, not to brag now, but whatever you see of me right now is literally what's happening. Like I still don't have like a Gucci purse or this or that, but like my rent is paid. I drive my favorite car. Like I have all these.
What's your favorite car?
I have a Range Rover. It's my favorite car.
When I moved to LA and I bought a G-Wagon like the moment I like landed, and it was really just it's a really stupid. I've
seen that G-Wagon. How's it going for you?
Oh, I saw it. I saw it during the pandemic because like it was just like sitting.
It was too much.
Yeah, it was just like sitting there. I don't know. The next car I don't know. But yeah, like. It's good that you I'm happy that you like you're able, you went through that to get to this. And even, I mean, it's weird. Like I mean, I don't want to be that person, but like, I know what some people do for the Gucci, not the Gucci bag, the YSL sometimes, the Chanel sometimes. Like, I know what people do, what some people do for it. And like, no shame to them, because it is, like, I'm pro, anything if people are doing it by choice.
Yeah.
But I think people will see, they'll just see the bag and they won't see what the person did for it. Like, we've been around all these situations. Like, I know what people do for Coachella passes sometimes and for backstage passes.
Oh my God.
If your girl has the artist pass, just
Yeah, like for me, I personally, like you said, it's completely fine whatever girls are comfortable doing for their lifestyle. That has nothing to do with me or anyone else. But I just don't like when I hear girls like talking down on other girls or like, like big up in themselves when I'm like, okay, like, you worked for it, but you didn't work for it, the way that maybe God would want you to work for it. So like, just be nice to the people who are, not having things handed to them by other people. So like,
it's funny. I'll see somebody post an inspirational quote and I'm like, I know, like you didn't get that bad because you did something really inspirational.
But it just shows you, like, a lot of those girls, and I'm not talking down. I'm friends with some of those girls, but it just shows you like where you're at in life. Maybe I think spiritually, I feel like you're not even that happy with yourself just yet. It's all just like a phase and a front end. Maybe it will get you to the next step. Like we all just go through stages in life, and that's a stage. But
and like Drea said, your honus can be deleted. But I mean, I think that and to be fair, like some of them are happy. Like I see some of them. Some of them are like. Because I think sometimes, like when people disapprove of a certain lifestyle, they be like, "Oh, well, you're not really happy." It's like, no, some of these girls, they're at the game, they're on the PJ, they're happy. At least for the time.
That's very true. That's very true. I've just also seen the backstories. Like I've seen the girl getting left out of the hotel room, can't get in at 4 a.m. because it's not on your dime, like not having a flight back. But you do see the Gucci purse, you do see the Chanel. So I'm like, there is a lot going on. Like, do you know what I mean?
Like I would love to develop a show that's like that lifestyle. 'Cause I feel like it's not fully understood. Like the whole sort of like Instagram lifestyle where it's like, it's, there's a lot more to it. You're right. Like the canceled flights, sometimes the pregnancy, like things like that.
It's a whole lot of fluff. Like I actually blogged about this because I have a blog, but I blogged about the fact that I know I have a 2-bedroom, and at times I wanted roommates, and I would have roommates and they couldn't pay their rent, but they had like the flashiest purses and the flashiest gear and the essentials hoodie and the everything. And I don't have those things, but my rent is paid. So it really is just like what it looks like to the public is just so different from what's actually going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of cap. Okay, so you're modeling, you're living in LA, you get through this rough patch. Like, how do you like because you got on Love Island? That was like a year ago maybe. So like there's still all this time in between. Like,
no,
what were you doing?
I just left Love Island 3 months ago.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. See? So it's very wow. That's so, okay. I'm so happy to have you because I like all the people I've been talking to. Like, I'll just have, I've had like influencers or like actors, and like we'll talk about their work. And the very end, I'll be like, okay, but long term, I want this to be a dating podcast. Let's talk about like your dating lifestyle, like dating, what's going on. Because I do like, I'm like half joking, but I do think dating is one of the most interesting topics. Like if you look at like Twitter, especially Black Twitter, like what's going viral every single day? Oh, splitting the rent, $50, $100, what is it? $200 dates. That's like every month they're talking about that. Splitting the rent, every month the rent's coming up, and people like, splitting the rent or not splitting the rent, and like just like people are always talking about dating. Like people are just constantly, and like if you even think about this content we consume, Sex and the City, legendary show, it's about dating. Insecure, another kind of legendary show about dating. Like I think dating,
girlfriends.
Girlfriend. I mean, all these shows, they're about dating, and I think dating is like I'm getting into a weird age where I have a lot of beef with people because I feel like I'm seeing a lot of guys now who, okay, I feel like as a guy, if you wanted to flex and like show off for the gram, whatever, 4 years ago, you would post, here I am backstage with, or here I am at the club, bottles, models, and now those same dudes, the flex is like, look at me in my matching pajamas, I feel like everyone had a secret meeting. Like,
did you miss the meeting? Did you miss?
Okay.
Did you?
I was in a relationship for like the pandemic for like a good amount of it, but I missed the meeting. I feel like people had a meeting behind my back. Like everyone, when you get to that 28 to 32 range, I feel like everyone had a meeting behind my back. Like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we're getting in relationships now. Like we're actually like the new flex is.
That's
I'm like,
what
wait,
we're doing.
You used to be. It is. It's like it's about vacations. It's about trips. It's about like matching pajamas. I'm like, why did no one tell me? You know, I would have like now I have to find a girlfriend. Now I have to fall in love, and people have a head start. I have to have a child. I have to get married, and it's like where was I?
Oh my God.
Why did I not get the memo?
They should have told you. They should have told you. You deserve that. You're just such a nice person.
I'm very upset. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's okay.
I'm looking. I'm an aspiring boyfriend.
Yeah.
So those 6 years. So you go from you had your rough patch. You get through that. So you're like. So I remember you went to Miami Swim Week. Like you were modeling. I mean, I guess you still model. But like you were modeling throughout that. Like what were you doing kind of during that time? Did you have the survival jobs like waiting or like catering? Like whatever.
Yeah.
Modeling. Like what was your journey like in LA?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I worked at Tao. You know Tao.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was a cocktail server at Tao. And then I started dating one of the owners, and then just I had like got out of that, and then I was also doing.
Okay, what was that like? Because people are always. I mean, this is probably before. This is definitely before 2017, 2018. But like people have the whole workplace and like power dynamics, and I always feel like the whole power because the power dynamic thing comes up about age gaps a lot, and I'm like. Every relationship has like a different no one's ever going to be the exact same power dynamic, right? Like people like because if you're like hey, power differentials in relationships are like just inherently bad, then like people like that means that interracial dating shouldn't be really allowed because like Black people are tend to have less power. That means that dating like any sort of poor person,
that's a deep perspective.
Like dating across class lines shouldn't be allowed because like people, you have more power if you're richer than somebody. And like, I'm not trying to like, this is going to get clipped or something like, oh, I'm an apologist for like, I'm not trying to say like, oh, like just like any sort of age gap is just permissible. But like, I do think that like we kind of focus on certain things or like workplace. I think about even like I think about people who are heralded as like these amazing relationships, like Chrissy Teigen and John Legend met because she was modeling his music video.
Yeah.
And they like slept together. That I mean, they've talked about it. They slept together the day they met. Yeah. And if that's not a power dynamic, like what is, right? Like he's the artist, she's on the video, and that's like a relationship that we celebrate. And then
it's so true.
Michelle Obama was like his mentor at the workplace. Like she was his assigned like, at the law firm.
Yeah.
And he asked her out over and over again, and like she kept saying no. And eventually she kind of relented. But like today, that would be seen as like he's like. Like it would be frowned upon. So what was it like? What was it like dating the owner? You're like that's very it's like the secretary and the boss. Like what was that like?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, like no one even like might keep my relationships extremely private. So only the people...
not now.
Not now. Yeah, I've definitely entered the no privacy chapter of relationships, which is very interesting to navigate. I've literally always been the person that just wanted to like fall off the grid and just pop up married and pregnant, and they'd be like, "What?
Oh, wow." Okay, I hate that. I always feel like if I dated you, like I should know. Like I don't ever want an ex to pop up married or pop up pregnant on me. So you're the person who I don't have a lot of exes. I have like 2. And neither one really counts because one was in college, so that doesn't really count, and then one was during the pandemic, so that doesn't really count. But
okay.
Half. They like sum up to be one relationship. Like a college relationship's like a half one, and like
fair enough. Fair enough.
But so you're the person like do you even post the arm? Because girls now they'll post the arm. They'll post they do the thing where it's like they'll cover him up with an emoji. They'll do you even do that or no?
That's not me. I find it very sexy to have private relationships that the world. I just feel like as soon as people know about your relationship, there's like arrows coming. Like like that's just how it feels to me.
I always joke that like when you post him, that's when he starts acting up.
Yeah, no, exactly.
When you post him.
I'm in a relationship now, and we very, very public relationship actually, and he gets DMs from women still, you know.
Okay. He's attractive and he was on the show. I feel like it always surprises me when like I'll know a woman who like date athletes or something, and they'll be like, it's like, okay, well, like, did you think you're the last person in the world to be attracted to like success and like skill and money? Like,
not
obviously,
at all.
it's like obviously people will still pursue that person, regardless of,
of course, like whether you're outside or not, but it's like now in this day and age that we're in, it's just so accessible. Like in your DMs, there's just a girl, you can see her whole profile, you can see her bum, you can see her tits, you can see everything, like
her
you
bum.
know what I mean?
I love the British vernacular, her bum. So it's just so elevated. Yes, okay, so he still gets so you go through the Tao, like you're dating a Tao, you break up, and so you keep working there, I guess, or do you
No. I left Tao, but we're amicable. Like he still follows me on Instagram and all kinds of stuff, but like we're amicable. But yeah, and then I got into another line of work. I'm not going to discuss that here. It's not naughty. It's just.
Yeah, I feel like after the conversation that we just had about Chanel bags and stuff, people are gonna assume that like it was that.
No, it wasn't that. But the only reason I'm not talking about it here is because it's a blog topic that I discuss on my blog, and so that's
okay. Well, what's the blog so people can find it?
The blog is zetaconfidential.com.
Okay, good. So go there, but after you finish listening to the podcast, go to the blog. Okay, so you do this line of work, and then but you're still modeling on the side, or like what do you? Like,
yes, still modeling with my modeling agency. I was still modeling, doing runway shows and shooting like makeup campaigns. I was working with Anastasia.
How is that as a dark skinned model? Because I feel like I have a friend who like I knew a couple like darker skinned models in LA. And I feel like each agency kind of like has their one. And it's like, oh, we already have one. You know, it feels like there's it's almost like there's like one slot. Yeah. Like, I feel like they also like have them all do the same thing. Like I feel like they like there was a phase where like they were all cutting their hair really short and then and dyeing it blonde. And it's like, why is every like actually like, it's like why? But I remember like a place being like, oh, like Ford or like, one or, just different agencies being like, oh, like basically like, I think I had a friend of mine who was trying to sign to one of them and they were like, oh, we already have our dark skin model basically.
Yeah.
So well, did you experience that?
No, because I'd been with my agency since I was 20, I think. Like, at the end of 20, I got with them. And they had just like a different array of dark-skinned girls, like the bald dark-skinned girl, they had
the Lupita,
they had the Lupita, exactly, and then they had me, like I'm like Lupita dark-skinned, but obviously like I always have my hair. But I shaved my head off in 2019, but that's another story. I'm no storyteller.
Were you going through a breakup? Was it post-breakup?
No, I just hated how over permed my hair was, and I just wanted my natural hair back, and so it was the best decision. Like it grew back perfectly, but I do sort of understand it. I don't understand just the one black girl thing. That's kind of terrible. But they don't want to have too much of the same look either, because then it takes jobs away from each other.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's a little.
Okay, so it's not like a malicious thing. That makes sense.
No. If they only have one, then maybe that's a bit strange. Yeah. But if they have like well, I'm not going to say a number, but a certain amount of black girls who all kind of have a different look. Then
and it is like, and to be fair, like it is very competitive just to become a model. Period. Like, to get signed is not like a small feat.
No, it's not.
Okay, so like, what are you doing up until like you get Love Island? And like even just like, how did you like? Did somebody tell you? Like, had you always been applying to these shows? Or, like, did somebody tell you like, oh, you should apply? Was it random? Like, was it like?
No,
it
was very random. It was very random. I started watching Love Island UK in 2020. And I really
are
liked
obsessed
it.
with that show. The UK is obsessed with that show. Yeah,
I mean it's the biggest reality show here, honestly. But I really, really liked it. I just thought they, compared to the other reality shows I had watched, it had just a lot more class. I mean, you're not allowed to drink more than 2 glasses of wine. a night, and so it's like you're not on TV just like acting completely out of character because you were drunk.
Oh, yeah, it's not the real world. Well, I mean, like I grew up a little bit watching The Real World. And I remember The Real World Las Vegas. It's like episode 2, threesome. You know, like it's like, whoa, they didn't even ease into it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that was the reality shows I had seen. So obviously, like with Love Island UK, like I'd always watched it in and out. But then obviously with the pandemic, I was like, I sat down and just like was like, okay, I'm gonna fully watch it and stuff. And I just was like, oh, I really like it. I never thought I would ever go on a reality show though.
Why? Or you just, I guess you're private, right? You say you like private relationships.
Yeah, I like private relationships, and also like I'm an actress, and obviously there's always been a stigma with reality television and acting. It's kind of like, which one do you want? But then I just feel like as time has progressed, like you see people just doing everything. Like you see like TikTokers in movies now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
that's so true. I feel like, and I don't know if it's more so women. I mean, I guess it's women and men, but I feel like there's certain things. I've had friends who like wanted to do OnlyFans, but then they're like, I'm not going to do it because it's going to like pigeonhole me, you know? Or like, I mean, yeah, and reality TV is the same thing. Like people just it really pigeonholes you. Whereas like modeling to acting is a very direct pipeline, but like reality, there's this, it's weird. Like people just kind of put you in that box.
Yeah. Exactly. And so for that reason, I was like, I'm never going to do reality TV. And then after this, even I have been approached for other shows. I'm like, no, like Love Island was my one. Like that was my one. Like,
well, and you also are the rare person in these shows who like leaves in a relationship, right? Like leaves in a real one. Not, I mean, to my knowledge, like not one of those fake ones where people just stay together for the, you know, because it's career beneficial.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you're modeling, you apply randomly, and then you just like what's like when you get the, like, where are you when you get the call? Like what? Like
well, it's funny because I applied to Love Island UK, and I was actually going to go on Love Island UK, but then I ended up booking my first TV series in Kenya. So I was there.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So I was there in February shooting, and Love Island UK was calling me, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, do you know what? I guess it's not in the cards, because at the end of the day, acting is my number one passion. I didn't even care to miss. I was a bit bummed out because I was like, oh my gosh, like I may have the opportunity to go on Love Island UK. But obviously I was like living my dream, filming, you know, the TV series. So I was just like, whatever.
And what's it called so people can check it out?
It's called
TV series.
It's called Crime and Justice.
Okay.
Yeah, I play a very interesting character. It's literally my favorite role to date. So
did you explore, like, because I've been to South Africa, and like, you know, there's the beautiful, you know, the safaris and stuff. Like, did you explore all that stuff?
I didn't get to because I was working so much. However, I'm okay with that just because I cannot wait to visit Nairobi again. Like, it was absolutely easily my favorite city in the world now. Like, it was just an out of body experience there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't speak enough about it. But after I got back from there, I was in London a bit, and then I went to LA, and then I was like, something just hit me like, isn't there a Love Island USA? And so I looked it up, and 3 weeks later, I was going to Santa Barbara, California. It was just like...
Wait, it was that... You know,
it was like that.
That's incredible, because I've always heard stories with these things where it's like, you apply and then it's like months and months of silence, and then...
Yeah, which is most people. I had applied extremely late. Like, people had applied and been being scouted the year before, and like top of January. So when I was even doing Love Island UK, like applying for that, that's when the USA contestants had been applying and doing their process and being called back months later.
Oh, wow. I love that you call it process. Canadians call it process too. I love that.
Versus
in America, we say process.
Yeah.
Also, I'm so jealous. I had an actor on here who was on the show Homeland with Damian Brody.
I know.
It's so annoying how UK actors can do American accents, but American actors can't do British. Like, how is it?
What is that?
I think it's because I think UK actors are like more classically trained. Like, I remember this was a whole issue. It was like a big issue. I can't remember who it was. I think like there's an actor who was like mad that like UK actors, you know, versus black actors,
jobs and stuff.
Yeah. Like, I can't remember which actor kind of called it out.
Yeah, I do remember.
There's like a schism.
Yeah,
it's you guys can just like Idris Elba, like you guys can just move in and out of our accents, and we just can't. Like we sound terrible.
like we
I
totally
we
can. Like I'm doing it right now. Like, don't I sound American to you? Like, does that scare you?
Okay, wow, it does scare me a little bit. I keep saying we. I keep saying
a little bit.
I keep saying we. Like I keep forgetting I'm also British.
You are.
Yeah, I'm also British.
You'll never be able to get rid of that.
Oh, okay. It was Samuel L. Jackson. I always like to fact check when I'm doing it. It was Samuel L. Jackson.
I thought it was somebody else's. Well, you know.
I did at first too, because I was like, wait, was it Denzel Washington? But it was Samuel L. Jackson who was basically like, yo, these British actors keep taking these British actors keep taking our jobs.
Yeah.
And I do think, like, you know, I don't know. It's a whole debate, although it hasn't. You know, it's been a while.
Do you know what? Oh, do you know what it was too? I think. Don't quote me, but I think I remember. Maybe I shouldn't say this in case this was a mate of mine, a celebrity mate of mine that told me that another lady said this. I don't want to say her name right now, and then he'd be like, "Why'd you go say that?"
Okay, well, yeah, we won't incriminate anybody.
But it was there's someone I know that was like, you know, African women are taking roles from Black American women.
Yeah, it's a whole. I mean, the whole diaspora. Like, is because it's like we're one big happy family, but also we're not. You know, like there's,
I know.
You know, like it's like I mean, even like there's like even like Nigerians don't get along. Like Yoruba versus Igbo, and like you know, there's all sorts of.
Why?
Schisms,
will it ever change?
I doubt it. I think history is just too strong, and tribalism is just very strong.
It's true.
But okay, what's the audition process like? You just send is it like a self tape or like what is like what does it entail?
Yeah, for the UK one, it was a self-tape and stuff. For this one, I, just being who I am, did my research, found a casting director, DM'd her. And she checked through my page, and then she just immediately, she said, "Did you put in an application?" I said, "Yes." And instead of sending it to her team, she just went through the applications herself, found my application, gave me a ring, and she was like, "Hey, like, I'm going to fast track your application. So you're going to be speaking to producers." And then it was literally like boom, boom, boom. Like, it was like every single day I was on interviews with producers and met with NBC. And
like,
then it was
like Zoom calls probably?
Yeah, it was Zoom calls. And then the day before I had to go to quarantine, I met with the producers in person at a cafe. And literally I got in the car to go home, and 30 minutes later, got a call from the producers who were over at the villa area already, and they were like, "Hey, we actually need you to get down here tonight." And I was like, "I haven't done my hair, I can't, I'm just, this is just wow." And they were like, "We really need you." She was like counting the days, apparently, because they don't tell us anything, but she was like counting the days and how much I needed to be quarantined. So then if I was going to be a starting 5, I would have been quarantined for enough time to, so it was like this, and I was like, it's just meant to be, I guess, because this is moving so quickly.
Yeah, wow. How many cast members is it?
On the show, we start with 5 women, 5 men.
Also, I saw an article that said that you were prioritizing looks over personality, and I love that you were very. Yeah, that's like one of the first things that come up. It's like cast members. Zeta Morrison says she's prioritizing looks over personality.
You know what's so funny about that? Because my whole life I have gone for personality. Like, I can literally fall in love with somebody if they're highly intelligent and they can like make me laugh. I will just fall, and then next thing I know, I'm like, I'm not that sexually attracted. Like, but now I'm like in love, and I was like, do you know what? This time around,
that's a scam.
Yeah, but so this time around, because I cannot be attracted to anyone, like, if you're very sexy and you're dumb, I still won't be attracted. So I was like, do you know what? You have to go for the looks now and then work your way that way. Like, because I was doing it that way the whole time, and I was just falling in love with so many people. And it's like, I've got to go for the looks now.
So you're a certified lover girl? Like you fall in love?
Easily. Is that what a certified lover girl means?
Well, so the Drake album was called Certified Lover Boy, so I don't know what exactly.
I'm not listening to Certified Lover Boy yet. All I've heard is that he said something about Meg Thee Stallion.
No, that's a new one. No, that's a new one. That's Her Loss. Certified Lover Boy is like the one a year ago with all the pregnancy emojis on the front cover.
Oh, yes. yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't love that one that much. I didn't love. I mean, I'm a big, Drake fan. We've, also like being in LA, like we would always, go to all his parties and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I didn't love Certified Lover Boy. I didn't. And the House album just, I'm not a house person, or the Dance or whatever. But her loss was very good. I like it a lot. I like Meg. I thought he was just being tongue in cheek. Whatever. But it's a very good album. Okay, so you get there. It's funny because I remember I feel like I just have these encounters, like even like Kofi, right? Like Kofi Cerebo, the actor, like he had already acted, but like I feel like I have these encounters with people where it's like we cross paths or we meet, and then like they end up. I mean, like I look up a year, 2 years, however many years later, and they're. I mean, I guess this just happens naturally if you're in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Like they're having their moment. I remember like seeing. I was like, oh, I was like really proud of you. And then like, but also seeing that you won, I was like, wow, like that's of course the person that I know would win.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. Like, also, how do they decide who wins? I'm not super familiar with. Like my guilty pleasure is like true crime. I haven't been a big.
That's my guilty pleasure as well. Is those kind of things. But the public votes for you essentially. Yeah. Okay. So every so often there's dumpings, like we've got new bombshells that come into the villa, try and steal your man, try and steal your girl, like you see if the connections are deeper, and then the public's like, that connection's not it, I like what they have, and they vote.
Well, yeah, I remember I watched a clip of a bunch of clips, and it was like there's one where it's like he was picking, like they asked a woman who's interested in Jimmy, and then like two women, like you and another woman. It's like it's so like rejection is hard, like at the mall. Like rejection is hard when it's just you and like so I can't imagine like dealing with rejection and being that vulnerable to like do that in front of millions of people. That's insane.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's great though, because a lot of people go in there being, considered some of the prettiest people. And then you're in there with a bunch of pretty people. So there's no more like, well, I'm pretty, so like, doesn't that do it? And I just think that's such a great wake-up call for a lot of pretty people when they come in there and they're like, fuck, like, this is really actually quite difficult. Like,
yeah, I feel like LA is like that too. I feel like when I moved to LA, I was like, oh, wait, like, there's like another level of hotness. Like, it like broke my scale. I'm like, wait, like, I didn't know people as hot as this existed. Like, my scale only went to this far.
Do you know what? I think it is great when you really do open your eyes, because as you've said, LA is just like on a different level, because it's just like all the hottest people have moved there. And now when I travel, I go to certain places that will remain nameless, and just being honest, I'll look at people who are not conventionally that pretty, and there'll be just so many, and I'm like, wait, like, where are all like the pretty people? So when I go back to LA, I start looking at people who other people look at as like, oh, they're not the hottest of the hot in LA. And I'm like, that's a beautiful fucking person. Like,
okay. I feel like I had a friend, or like a friend of a friend, who I legitimately think, I think she even said so to, like, I think she moved back, like she moved to New York because just in LA, she just wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Black women especially just get valued more. So I feel like LA, like everyone has that, like I feel like people go to the doctor and ask for the same look. It's like, give me the Kardashian face and then like the BBL. And I feel like, and that's kind of what's in LA. And I feel like, especially Black women, I feel like going to another city, like going to New York, I feel like especially, you'll just get appreciated more.
Yeah.
Because it's so weird. Like it's so like, it's just not, LA is just a different. I remember I got off a flight one time, like from Houston to LA, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen a single fat person. Like, I just like, I was like, did LA ban fat people? Like, why? Like, everyone's like hiking, they're doing matcha, they're drinking, they're like juicing.
Yeah, it's just very different.
It's like everyone's like an actor, a model, so everyone's like professionally good looking.
Yeah, professionally good.
Yeah, it's like you're like so good looking that people will just pay you to be good looking.
Just pay you. That is so funny.
It's true.
You're right, though. I can't argue with you. Oh God.
Oh, really? So okay. So what was it? So like, when did you start falling? Like, how did it progress? Because how many weeks are you there? Like
6 weeks.
So like, how did you when did you start kind of falling for? I guess for each other. Like, who fell first, sort of?
That's funny. I don't know who fell first. I stepped forward for him though, because you're supposed to step forward and then we was coupled up.
Yeah, I watched that. You and
we was coupled up from day dot, and so and then we just made it to the end. But we had our hiccups. A bombshell came in for him, and he was recoupled with her for a certain period of time, and then. But that's the bit about Love Island. It's that redemption arc. That's what people love to see, is the relationship that got split apart, and then they came back together. And I feel like that was a lot of people rooting for Zimmy. That's what they call us out there.
Yeah, I saw that. It's almost like a movie where it's like, boy meets girl, boy gets, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back, right? That's the sort of narrative arc that we like. Yeah, because I saw the clips. Yeah, I saw that there was an interloper who kind of came in for a little bit, tried to. So I guess they bring in bombshells to try and kind of mess up. Okay, and then so you guys because some of these couples after it's just a TV thing, right? But you guys, I was watching, so I like to do my research on people before, whatever. And you guys have, Well,
you're good at what you do. You're good at what you do.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you. Well, I do think that sometimes people will interview someone. It's like, did you ever have you never it's like, do you even care about this person? You seem so disinterested.
I just log out of those interviews. I'm just like, goodbye.
I've been lucky where. So far, I've been talking to mostly friends, but even that, it's like, okay, let me do my research. But yeah, they but you guys have a YouTube. I saw you guys had a video where you guys were watching, rewatching sort of the moments, So it's very how was it? Was that even a conversation? Okay, we're gonna do this beyond this is gonna last beyond this, right? Was that a conversation? How'd that happen?
Yeah, for us, it's we started dating all over again after the show. That's something that a lot of people don't know, but we was okay, it worked out on the show beautifully. We really have a thing for each other, but reality is obviously it's a reality show, but real world reality is just much different. As he would even say, you got your job, he's a personal trainer, you got these hours, your family's in New York. There's just so many components.
Hey, where was he based? Because you're obviously based in LA.
He's in LA, but he had just moved there 3 months before the show. He's originally from New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
New York City or just or upstate or?
Yeah, I don't know. He's lived all over, Chelsea, everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
City. Okay. So you guys started. What was that? Okay, what was that like? Okay, my experience with dating is very different because I feel I never really dated until kind of more recently. All of my adolescence, I was just. You talk about ugly duckling phase. I was the nerd, right? I was not.
Were you an ugly duckling?
I don't want to talk about it. I think I was just awkward.
The same way you told me that which one I was before I became pretty. I feel the exact same way about you. You tall, chocolate, beautiful man. I know with a personality. I know you're an ugly duckling. I know it.
Oh wow! I'm gonna clip you calling me a tall, chocolate, beautiful man, and just
anytime ugly duckling.
Anytime I feel down, if I wake up and I'm sad or something, I'm gonna just watch that video. Thank you, I appreciate it. No, I think I was I feel I grew up in an area, it was diverse, but I feel people value sort of the kind of more hood guys or Black American guys also. And then just, being African, African booty scratcher, this and that, and then just being dark. And then just I was not I was only good at school. I wasn't athletic. I don't think I was funny or anything. And so I think that I actually date them. And then I was just focused on school. And then so when I was in college, I didn't really have to date because going to Harvard, there are girls who from local schools who are just they want they feel oh, you might be the next, because Harvard, looking back at it now, I realize the type of doors that it opens with job wise, whether you graduate and you're you could be making six figures upon graduation. And it's funny because I didn't think about that. That didn't seem like an outlandish thing. Nowadays people, making 70 or 80K is that's great. Not for even out of college, but as an adult, it's just as a 35-year-old man or something, right?
Yeah.
But to make six figures out of college was kind of the norm. Not for everybody, right? But for people who went into finance, for people, because there are people at Harvard who become baristas or go to graduate school or
of course
backpack across Europe. But but then you go to Harvard, there are girls who just are kind of choosing up on you because it's okay, you go to the school. And then when I was working on Wall Street, I didn't have any time to date. I was working kind of investment banking hours, 80 hours a week. I moved to LA. I bought the G-Wagon. I was writing for a hit show. Like, it wasn't, there was no, like, I didn't really have to be like, oh, like, wow anybody with like a planned date. And, and I was writing, I was writing for The Simpsons, and like, that was just like, I was making like quite a lot of money. And so I just never really had to date. And then like, so more recently, like, especially when I was like dating someone during the pandemic, is really when I've been like, okay, like, hey, like, we're going to meet at this time. We'll go to this, we'll get drinks or we'll get dinner. Like, like actually dating, like planning things out. Yeah. And so like what kind of dates, like over the years, right? Like you're, a beautiful woman in LA, people pursue you. Like what kind of dates do you like? Like what have been like your dream dates? Even like, as you started getting to know, like dating him all over again, like what have been, are you like a simple gal, like walk in the park, paint and sip, or are you more of like, we have to go to Nobu, we have to go to Tao, we have to go to I was gonna say Cabo, but I feel like nowadays Cabo and Tulum is almost like people, it's so common now that people, I mean, I don't really travel like that, but I was gonna say Cabo or Tulum, but it seems like that's almost like entry level now.
Yeah, entry level. That's
it is. People like, people will go to like Cabo or Tulum on like their first or second date. It's like,
So no, you're very right about that. I know a girl who just went to Cabo with a guy, and they've been dating 2 weeks, and that was like their. So,
okay, I detest that because I feel like you guys are ruining it. Like the guys need to unionize. We cannot all be taking girls to Cabo date 1, date 2. Like you're driving the price up. You're like, keep the bar low. The bar needs to be low. Not so low, but the bar needs to be lower. We cannot all be taking. No, stop it.
That is really, really funny.
It's true.
Get in where you fit in.
Like, well, you see those viral tweets. It's like, forget Like, forget texting. Like, if you want to get to know me, let's go to Cabo. Like, you go to vacation.
Go to the Bahamas. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I'm like, first of all, you're gonna get kidnapped. Going to the freaking Cabo, the guy you just met. I mean, that's not really gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. But I'm just like, man, I'm like, guys, stop. Like, please, we can't be, the city girls are just, like, I have a theory, and I'll do a whole podcast on this one day with somebody.
Yeah,
I have a theory that I believe that the city girls caused Kevin Samuels. And what I mean by that is that the city girls kind of came in, they were like, yo, like, we're not messing with broke niggas. Like, we're not, you gotta buy me a Chanel, you gotta swipe the Visa. And I feel like every girl kind of started having this attitude of like, you got to buy me the Chanel, buy me the Visa. And then Kevin Samuels was like, yo, that applies to them. Like that applies to girls. That applies to girls who look like Zeta Morrison. That does not apply to you. You have, 3 kids by 3 different dudes. You drive a 2001 like Toyota.
I am screaming.
I really think the city girls caused Kevin Samuels. So anyway, look,
it's created a whole era. It really has. It really, really has. I'm not.
It really has.
I'm not that way. I really, and I said this on the island. I'm really into men that are just generous with everything. Generous with their time. Generous with like their love, how they treat me. Like that's the kind of stuff that I like. Like.
So you're not like, okay, you have to, you got to buy me a Birkin on the first,
no, not at all. Not at all. Because it's like, I don't know, if you're buying me a Birkin, I don't know, like, does that mean you don't, like, text me for a week because you're doing what you're doing or what you're up to? Like, I don't know. Like, what's the trade-off, essentially? I make my own money. I feel very, very proud of that. And so, I don't need you to like buy me anything. If you want to do that on your own and just be nice, because that's maybe like one of your love languages is gifts, then great. But like,
what are your like ideal dates? Is it like dinner? Is it I don't know why people say go to the movies, because like the movies is a terrible first date because you can't talk to the person in the dark.
I know it's very strange.
It's strange.
Yeah, even though it's really funny because Timmy and I's first date was the movie, was the cinema, because he doesn't watch films at all, and I'm just like a cinephile. So we were like, okay, let's go watch a film together. But that made sense just because he doesn't watch films. But outside of that, I really am just like a huge dinner date girl. I love dinners. It doesn't have to be fancy. We can literally go to a place that's like hole in the wall that we heard the food was really good. So yeah, that's what I love to do the most, I have to say.
Do you eat African food?
Are you joking? That's
I don't know. You never know. you never know with the people, the ones who grew up in London, or not London, but you just never know.
The London Africans, we're sorted. Trust me. That's my favorite food.
Okay,
Timmy actually tried African food when he came here. It's in a vlog. It's in our Zimmy Takes London vlog. He tried food.
Wait, what? Oh, okay. Did he use his hands?
No, he didn't. And he chewed it.
Wow.
Chewed it. But I told him, I said, this is meant to be swallowed, but if the spirit moves you to chew, then go on. Do you know? Because I know a lot of people, the texture's just so different for them that they're like, I've got to chew it. And yeah.
Wait, what's your favorite? Because I'm gonna have to switch it up. I eat so much African, especially when I'm in Houston. Like, there's so many Nigerians here. That's one thing I hated when I got to LA. I could never find good jollof rice. It took me years.
It's so difficult. I have to make it myself,
You can make it?
Oh, yes, I had to, because everywhere I was going wasn't good. And it's also really, really sad because the last Ghanaian restaurant I know closed like literally the year I got to LA, like 10 years ago. They're all Nigerian, which fair enough, that's fine. I still love Nigerian food. But I'm like, we don't have one Ghanaian representation.
Well, it's weird. So like the kind of Nigerian capitals in America, it's Houston, Atlanta, and the DMV. Also New York too. LA has some, but like LA just doesn't have enough. Like
it doesn't.
I was able, like, there's a couple. So there's this place called Nkechi's African Restaurant.
I know.
There's another one. Veronica's. Everyone's talking about Veronica's.
Yeah.
And then
like Toto's. Have you heard of Toto's?
I haven't been to that. But there's this one called Aduke, and that was the only place. It opened years later, and their Inglewood location. I don't know if it's still there, but they have good jollof rice.
Aduke everywhere else. That's where I get my jollof if I do get it. So
yes, everywhere. Oh my! Like I remember one time I was dating this girl, and I told her to go. I told her to. I don't want to say which one, whether it was Nkechi or Veronica. But I meant to tell her to go to. Aduke to get, because I was out of town and she was still in LA. Yeah. I meant to tell her to go to Aduke, and I accidentally said one of the other two, and she's like, yo, this is like terrible, and then.
Really hurts my soul, because it's my favorite food. I'm always so skeptical of having anyone try something that's like not up to par. Like you're saying, a lot of the jollof rice will be like kind of like dry or like.
It's
makes
funny.
Me sad.
Yeah, it's dry. It's not spicy. Oh my god! I'm gonna tell you. I try not. My guests can curse. I try not to curse because I know my parents are gonna listen. They'll just annoy me. Although who cares? I mean, at this point, who cares? I'm like old, but you know how Africans are. But one of my friends was calling me, so I told one of my friends about Aduke recently. This is like in September. This is recent, and he called me, and I was like 1 second tricking. I was like on dinner. I was like on a dinner date. I was joking. And then my friend was like, you were wrong as hell. He's like, send me $26 right fucking now. I was like, LOL, what did you order? He's like, jollof rice, you black son of a bitch. He's like, bro, I feel so violated. I was like, honestly, you have to adjust your expectations, bro. It's LA. LA's jollof rice is trash. And he's like, shut the fuck up. He was like, Veronica Kitchen is home. He said, Veronica Kitchen is home plate. That's all I came to say. And then he sent me an Apple Pay request for $26 saying I owe him because I made him get bad jollof. Like, we don't play about our jollof. Like, it's really
at all. Do you go through the debate of the Ghanaian versus Nigerian jollof? Are you one of those?
I don't entertain it because it's not the same league. Like, I don't like. Am I going to debate Michael Jordan versus some teenager who's playing basketball at his local high school? Like, no, it's Nigerian jollof is it's funny. Like, my first roommate in LA was Kofi. Like, Kofi, and his brother Kwame. Like, I'm friends with Ghanaians. I have Ghanaian friends, but I don't think I've even really tried the jollof like that. It just doesn't like.
How would you know? You're just repping your set. Are you just repping your set?
I mean, okay. What do you believe? Are you
Ghanaian jollof?
Wow, this interview is over now.
Ghanaian jollof. Yeah, I will still eat Nigerian jollof. I don't have a problem with it. It's great, but are you joking? Like, Ghanaian jollof is flavorful.
You know what? I'll promise you I'll try it, but I know it's not going to be good. I feel like I've had it before.
Where are you going to try it? Mate, do you know what? New York has a good Ghanaian restaurant. I forgot what it's called. I'm
in New York next week. Drake has like two. I hate dating these because then it's like when I put them out. But I'm in New York very soon, so I just don't trust it. I don't know. And also,
why don't you trust it? What has it done to you for you not to trust it?
Well,
that's strange behavior. You're playing favoritism to your.
Well, I also beef Ghana because as much as like Nigeria. Nigeria has the culture. You know, we have Burna, we have Wizkid, but nowadays when people visit Africa, they go to Ghana. Like people will go. Like, I've met people who like they'll go to Ghana. And I was look. Nigeria has a lot of issues.
Are you hating? Are you hating?
Yeah, I'm hating. Yes,
okay.
Yes, I'm hating.
Okay, fair enough. Like if you're hating, just say that. You know.
Yeah, no. Look at that American accent came out again.
Just say that.
I am hating, but okay. That. So I like that you're okay. The thing is, a guy about dinner dates is that they can kind of just get like, especially even non. Okay, how often do you expect to go out on to go on like a date night, like if you're in a relationship? I ask because like, let's say a guy makes like $60K a year or something, right? So like I wonder, like I understand now why like the whole $200 dates concept gets run into the ground on Twitter.
Yeah,
the average guy, the average black guy, the average guy in general, an average black guy maybe makes, I mean, very, you know, not that much, like 30-something thousand maybe. But even let's just say it's a more educated person or more, like let's say it's 60. Basically, like if you're going on a date, like let's say you make like every month after taxes, not everyone's super blessed, right? Let's say you make every month after taxes like $2,400. If you're going on a date like once a week and like dinner, drinks, that runs up to like $200. That's like $800. That's like a third of you. That's like a third of what you So like basically, how often do you expect to go on a date? Like whether if you're in a relationship, like with your like with a date, like a nice, like like maybe not Ruth Chris, but a nice sort of maybe not Tal, maybe not Ruth Chris, but like a nice sort of dinner date. Because I do think that like the reason the $200 date and like splitting rent always comes up, especially on Black Twitter. First of all, like Black people just don't make as much money, just frankly, right, in America.
Yeah. And
also like if you're like it starts to add up. Like if you're going out, especially if you're in a relationship, if it's like you're like you have to. That's what I loved about the pandemic. Like, because I'm a homebody. I love to sit at home.
Me too.
I love to sit at home, listen to my Dateline podcast, watch Dateline.
Watch true crime.
We'll cuddle. Yeah, it was amazing. I love that relationship. Like,
it was the time of my life, honestly. I know it was depressing for a lot of people, but I was at my happiest. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, we would cook. We would, we would basically play house, right? Yeah. And I think, everything was closed, right? And I think we kind of probably broke up right as things started opening up. And so I think that, like, how often, how often is a proper sort of get out the house date night expected?
I'd say like once every 2 weeks.
Okay, that's good. That's good, because if let's say you're making $2,400 and like each one costs $150, that's three. Okay, that's good. That's good. I feel like when you start expecting it like
standard.
Yeah, I feel like when people start wanting it like weekly or even like twice, like Friday and Saturday, or like it's like, okay, come on, like I'm not trying to go to.
Yeah, well, I think it just depends on like the level of dating that you're doing. If you really are just like, I'm trying to have a fun time in life, that's that. But if you're really like building something with this person, it's like obviously like I get turned on talking about more money moves together or like something like that, like and then doing the date nights like when we can. But again, I'm not bragging on myself, but I really am a different type of woman. Like.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, we're getting to that range where people are building, right? People are really like.
Yeah, I'm 29. Again, maybe, do you know what? When I was younger, maybe I would. I still didn't expect that. It was just nice when it happened.
Wow. Wait. Oh, like that. Oh, yeah. Just go. Yeah. I mean,
just all the time. Like, it's nice to also cook with each other. You can literally do fun things, like.
Also, what? I think about like my relationship I was in. Probably the most fun little date that we had. I ordered like paint stuff on Amazon, and we watched like a paint. Like we basically just drank wine and like watched on YouTube like a paint and sip, but like on YouTube, like we each painted like what the person.
That.
Yeah, I think it was her idea, honestly. But I
was about to say like, good on you. I'm about to steal that.
Yeah, feel free to steal that. Feel free to steal that.
But also, I'm gonna say, like, when I go out to eat, I don't want to be looking at the prices, and I need to see you tip 20%, and I need all of that. So I'm not going to have you do this all the time. So when we do it, it's done right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's why the $200 dates thing and the tipping and like also like the splitting rent thing. Because I do think people like. Will be out and it's like, oh God, is she gonna order the? Oh, God, it's like, fuck. It's like you're like transferring money from like your checking, from like your savings to your checking, or you're paying down your credit card.
Why are you like this. You're so funny.
It's like, oh gosh, another drink. God gosh. I think the guys like have that, like if like, because I've had, especially like with entertainment's like I've had periods where I was making like insane, like insane amounts, and I've had periods where I've like I'm in between shows or something, and so I think that like you're able to like it took me being in like a kind of like lull period where I was like, okay, I finally understand like why everyone's always arguing about these topics on Twitter, because it is like at some point you're like, oh crap, like like I'm not really trying to spend like this right now. Okay, so you guys are. So what's like next for you? I see. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I was just going to say something silly. I think, like I said, I think it just depends on where you're at, because it's just like, if you are just dating and having just a fun time, then maybe for the men, you just have to.
Those days are over. I told you I didn't even know you. So for some reason, I feel like there was a website that said you were like 26 or something. I didn't know you were like we're in that. I'm telling you, people are popping up engaged. People are like there was a friend like there's a friend of mine who like who's like he went to Harvard. He went to like Morehouse undergrad and like Harvard Law, and like I was following. But he knows a lot of LA people and like Black kind of successful people. And I was on his Instagram. I think he had like a Friendsgiving. He posted somebody, this girl. I was like, oh, she's cute. I go to her page. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, it looks like she's in a relationship. Turns out she's in a relationship with a guy who I know. I won't say like we're not friends, but like we're like pretty. We're cool. We're acquaintances, friends. And I see on her page that she's engaged to him. I'm like, this dude, he like deactivated it. He deactivated he's like a lawyer. He deactivated his Instagram. I want to say like 2-3 years ago. He kind of fell off the face of the earth and just popped up engaged. Like I feel like we're in that era where people are really like it's crazy. Like I said, no one. They had the meeting behind my back. They said, hey, let's all become like family men. Let's all be in serious relationships, and let's not tell him.
That is so funny. Again, I do apologize that you were not at that meeting. I did not host it, but I do feel bad because you should have been invited. You really should have been invited.
It's really beautiful though. Like on a serious note, to see something like there are dudes who like I know a guy who he used to have, like when I lived in New York. Like New York was interesting because like I was in that kind of Black Ivy League sort of finance banker circle, and like I feel like a lot of women who maybe didn't go to Ivy schools but like lived in New York and didn't work in maybe they were like teachers or just kind of worked normal normal jobs. They kind of wanted to land themselves like a finance bro. And so there's a couple guys who lived in Harlem. Like they would throw these parties like just they might say it like they would never plan. They do plan parties too. But they would kind of be like, hey, it's like 9:00 on a Saturday or a Friday, and they're like, yo, let's have people over. And within like 30 minutes, like all of kind of the Black sort of Ivy and like dudes, finance bros, and like the girls who are trying to pick them are in their apartment. And one of them now, he's got like 2 little girls. Like he he makes videos with them. Like I'm giving away, but like whatever. He has like 2 little girls, and like he's like fully. It's not just about like. It's not the fact about like being in a relationship or being a father, or being having a significant other, but it's like they're really like leaning into it. Like it's really like it's what because like you could be in a relationship and like not post about it, not share it. Same way you could have a whole bunch of women and not post and not share, and you could have a crazy lavish lifestyle. But it's like that's the image that people are kind of choosing to put forward, and it's like, well, like I remember when you were the guy who was just. Every weekend it's I'm seeing it's I go to your apartment for a party. It's a different girl every weekend. And it's dope seeing people like glow, like kind of just grow up and like enter this era of like like we're
Do you think like it's history just repeating itself, like just going through those waves? Do you know what I mean? Because there really was a time where it was like you just don't settle, like for girls and boys. It wasn't just like a boy thing. It was like, not trying to be in a relationship.
I think that like the reason everyone kind of gets married, because like, I don't know, I'm not cynical. Like I do believe like in love, but I do think that the reason everyone kind of gets married around that same sort of 28 to 30 something, like late 20s, early, like, okay. In College Station, people get married in like, they marry their high school. They get married when they're 17. They marry the first. You throw a rock at somebody and hit them, and you're like, okay, we're getting married. You marry your high school sweetheart, your college sweetheart, and you never leave Texas.
Exactly.
You don't set foot out of Texas. But like
exactly.
on the East Coast, West Coast, and I think the Midwest is more like Texas in that way. But on the East Coast, West Coast, it's more like, like you get to that 28, 32 range. I think the guys start to feel like, okay, like I'm a little more financially secure, and also women start to, I think women, they've been dating for long enough, and I think they're just kind of tired. It's like, I don't want to tell somebody else like my favorite color again. Like I had someone, I think I had a girl tell me that she's like, I don't want to tell some other dude like my favorite color again. Like just what I do for a living, and like you just kind of just do the whole thing again.
You're just tired.
And so I think I think people reach, and I'm not saying they're settling, but I do think people reach a certain age where it's like, okay, like things kind of are, I'm more secure financially, and also like I've been doing this for a while. I kind of know what I want, and I also think that like I do think there's also a level of like, I'm guilty of this, where it's like you kind of start looking around, and it's like, okay, well, he's married and he's, like what am I doing? Like I remember so Russell Simmons was like dating a friend of mine briefly. And I remember like seeing him at Soho House, which like Soho House is this like private members club in LA, and so for the audience. And so, like I remember seeing him at Soho House, and he was like surrounded by at a table. I think this is around the time, or after he had been dating, because we kind of, like when someone's dating your roommate, even if it's Russell Simmons, they kind of want to be cool with you. And so, because you're like, and so like I know, like we exchanged numbers or whatever, and we were cool kind of. And like I saw him at this table with all these kind of 22-year-old Instagram models back when everyone was kind of doing those Instagram skits, right?
Right.
And I remember kind of being like, oh, this is kind of like sad and pathetic. Like he's this, almost, he's pushing 60, he's still kind of chased. Like, doesn't it get old, right? Like, doesn't it get old?
Yeah.
And I remember at first I was like, this is kind of pathetic. But I was like, wait, like if I were 60 or if I was 50, if I were 58 and I was worth like $500 million and like 22-year-olds wanted to hook up with me, I'd probably be happy. Like, why am I feeling sorry for him? Right? But I do think at the same time that like you hit a certain level where it's like my friend of mine had a surprise party recently. Like he walked in, like like some of my like childhood best friends, and he walked in like his wife had, has gotten us together, a surprise brunch, and he's holding his kid, and like that, like that's cooler than any like G-Wagon. You know what I mean? Like that's, to me, right? I'm getting to the age where it's like that, like that's way cooler than like, hanging out with Drake and like at Delilah and like, posting on my story, like the whole Hollywood, or not even Hollywood, like, cause any city, right? But like, that's more meaningful. And like, to be fair, I'm sure Russell has also, like, he's done the family thing. So maybe, like, I'm sure that like that also has its things that get old too. But I think, in this age, I'm kind of like, okay, like there's way more meaning in that, like having a partner and maybe I'm just glorifying it because I'm single right now.
No, then we're gonna get on that side where we have kids and stuff. We're gonna be like, man, I'm trying to be back out there.
Yeah, and also to be fair, like I remember, like I've had this conversation and people are like, well, those same dudes, like they're in my DMs. You know what I mean? Like those dudes, you're like, oh, like so and so, they look so happy, look how cute they are. It's like, well, he's also in about 3 people's DMs. So
it's true,
Yeah, everything's not what it seems, but I do think that like, I do think that like I'm not so old, but like as I kind of get into this era where
you anyway? Do you share
I'm 31. I'm just 31. So like
oh my gosh, you're still a baby though.
Yeah, but I really do feel like it's this specific age range where like people are really like they're not wasting time, right? You don't need to date somebody. It's like you could date for a year and get and propose, right? Like it's not like like what do you really need? Like you know what you like, they know what they like.
So true, yeah. You've seen enough. You've been around the block enough. Like you know it when you see it.
You've been
a few blocks.
You've spun around the ends, You've
around the ends, exactly.
You spun around the ends. All right, so I just ask you that, like, what are you working on? Like, so acting is like your main focus, right? So you're not really interested in doing other reality shows. Like, acting is kind of like where you want to put your energy.
Yeah, that's what fills me, like.
And what is it about acting that like
Do you know? It's so funny because somebody actually asked me this question on Twitter yesterday. So they was asking me about modeling, and I was just telling them how I don't enjoy modeling as much as I used to. And that, if I do modelling, if you see me modelling, it's only because I'm getting a good check for it. And I was like, at this point, I need to be in vogue. Like that's why.
Well, Drake, that Drake line just really, don't tell me that you model if you ain't been in vogue. Wow, he really must have. I'm sure there's some girls who heard that and they're like, oh wow, like
man, I gotta get Vogue. Yeah, no, yeah. But yeah, outside of that, it's modeling is just so impersonal to me. It always has been. It's just that, like, you know, I feel like when I was younger, like my priorities were different, and it was a great job for that time period. And I'll probably be a model for as long as it pays me. I don't hate it, but it's just so impersonal for me. It was just a place where it was like nothing that I wanted to do mattered. I was just, you know, that clothing rack, and it just wasn't fun for me.
It does feel like sometimes models, because I get to know a lot of models in LA. Like, it feels like sometimes they feel like it's almost unearned, right? Because like I'm here because I won the genetic lottery. It's not like it's they feel like it's not like, versus like acting is like you have to look good for the most part, but it's also like a skill, right? You can refine, because I mean there are beautiful people who cannot act at all, right?
Exactly.
So it seems like it feels more earned. Like, okay, like I'm being rewarded for something that I actually worked hard at, not just like looking good.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
that's facts.
I mean,
you've said it honestly.
Yeah, modeling to acting is like I always felt like, you know, modeling and acting is such a natural pipeline, because first of all, like acting is more of like a longer career. It tends to be, especially for women, I think. And then also, you know, because like Meryl Streep, you know, and obviously like Morgan Freeman, so even men like is still acting.
Exactly.
So it's like a longer career. I also felt like it makes sense because like you guys are used, like models are used to being in front of the camera already.
Yeah.
You know, like and like performing. Like, I remember I want to do like the like Kenya Barris acted in you know, the creator of Blackish Growing, all this stuff. He acted in that show, and like he, you know, he wasn't going to, but I think he said, you know, Rashida Jones, like, hey, like, why don't you just do it? And I remember like there was a phase when, like, you know, like I said, we were in Hollywood during that kind of Black Renaissance, straight out of Compton, you know, all these, you know, Blackish, all these kind of, you know, Lena Waithe, Chicago, Insecure, obviously. And I remember like I wanted. There's a part of me, you know, because as a writer, like you have the superpower. Where you don't have to wait around for somebody to create something for you. You can kind of just create it yourself. Yeah. I remember I wanted to sort of do that. Like I was like I'll do the Issa Rae thing of putting myself in something that I wrote, and I was like so bad. Like I was like, I can't act at all. Like I was terrible. I did something with, first of all, I was acting with Keith Powers. You know, he's an amazing actor. Yes. Like he was in the Temptations thing. You know, he's a legitimate actor.
Yeah.
Like I wrote something. It was like a short film that I wanted to make into like a feature, and I wrote it and I produced it. And I remember actually, you know, Jodie Smith was in it too. Actually, she
she was in.
Yeah, Jodie Turner Smith. Like she's the one who actually got me in a Soho House. But yeah, she was in it. You know, long before what's that movie that she did with Daniel Kaluuya?
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's really good.
And I was just like, oh wow, like I'm just not like, this is like, because I think that I thought that like acting is just, you just have to remember the lines. So I was like, okay, you have to remember the lines. Like that's like Queen and Slim, that's the movie. But anyway, so like I was like, oh, you just have to remember the lines. Like I could remember the lines, and then I'll like be doing. I'm like, oh wait, you have to remember the line. You also have to like do this. Like if I say a line as I'm sitting down, I have to say it as I'm sitting down every time, so that the shots match up. You know, if I say the line as like, I have to say it. Like, even talking now, I'm like mixing myself up, right? Like I have to say the line, and then as I'm saying it, do the same thing. Yeah. And also say it in the same sort of way each time. Yeah. And I feel like people don't realize, like, I think, you know, Ken used to say that like actors are magic people, right? It's like the words that we writers would come up with on Blackish, they would come and bring them to life and like
make it alive. Resonate. Yeah.
And like the best actors, like Dion Cole is amazing at this. He played Charlie on Blackish, and he's a stand-up. Like they would write, like they would say something not in the way you intended, but in the way that was better. Right? Yeah. Like that, you know, because usually if an actor says something that's not in the way you intended, it's kind of like worse. Exactly. Like they'll say it in a different way. Like it's like, oh wait, that the way that you said it, yeah, it's actually better than what I thought. So like, yeah, like acting is like not like, I feel like people, it just looks so easy. Like the thing is, it's almost like basketball, right? Like good basketball players make it look
easy. Yeah.
Good actors make it look easy. And I think I got fooled into that, like being around, you know, Anthony and Tracy. And I was like, oh, I'll just write. So, and I was like, oh, this is like I'm like over. Like I'm paying for I'm like producing it, so I'm like sitting here wasting our time because I'm like trying to like.
That's
like,
so
I have to get my lines right.
Yeah.
So you have an agent, I'm sure, for acting, right, and modeling.
No, I actually don't. I have a modeling agent, but I actually am looking for an acting agent right now. So
how'd you get the Kenya the Kenya thing in Kenya?
It's so funny because I am the classic and really beautiful story of like putting in your time in Los Angeles and people being like, you'd be like, what's going on? All of my acting gigs have been through relationships that I have like built over the years, in which people have been like, man, you're such an amazing actor. And then they've written something and they've been like, put me in. When I booked my first film, Dutch, that was actually my friend Rob Richard. He's a huge actor, and he.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. He came up in a recent episode that I did with someone was bringing him up like as just kind of as far as like growing up, like the people who grew up in LA, like growing up around all these talents and stuff.
Yeah. So he was like, his mate, who's the director, Preston Whitmore, he was like, he's looking for a girl like just like you. So like, would you want to audition for this role? And I auditioned, and they were like, yeah, okay, it's you. So and then Crime and Justice was the same thing. I'd known this writer for years, and he was like, man, I just really think you'd be great for this role. Do you want to audition? I auditioned and I got it. We Follow You. It was the same thing. It's literally been that for all of my roles. And so now I'm kind of like, okay, well, thank you, God. Now I'm going to take like those, and then yeah.
Well, you're also like a go-getter. I feel like even just like DMing like the casting agent, like that's such a not I would say power move, but it's like a bold sort of like, let me just like there's this thing that I want.
I think I've learned in life that like things aren't going to come to you if you want it. You've just got to get up and go get it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so what would you say? Like, let's say there's like a young, awkward, dark-skinned girl in College Station right now. like, what would you tell her besides move to Los Angeles?
I would just say like really find what you're passionate about, because a lot of what I've seen, especially being in LA over the last 10 years, is that like LA will chew you up and spit you out. Like people come and they've got to move back immediately, and for me it's just like it's that quote that's like, remember why you started. If you're not passionate about,
oh my goodness,
if you're not passionate about it, just don't go there at all. Like I'm just gonna be like really frank and honest, just don't even try it. Like don't even kid yourself, because you're not gonna make it. And
it's very easy to lose yourself in LA too. I feel like one thing I feel like happens a lot is like you're in the proximity of so much success that you start to think that it's yours. I think that like, because with LA, especially pre-pandemic, like you're partying at like Jamie Foxx's house or Drake's house, or like you're at these sort of industry things.
Exactly.
And it's like, like you haven't made it yet. That's their house, right? And I think that people kind of get so like you get so close to it that you think that like you think that it's yours, but it's not yours yet.
Exactly.
And then people think that success is going to come overnight. But like you said, these are relationships that you've built for years and years. It's not like it was just like handed to you day one.
No, not at all. And that's what people need to realize too. But it's like, it's funny because I have heard, which I did blog about this too. People say like, overnight success with Love Island, which obviously is what it seems like. But it's like, man, everyone who's been an overnight success story, I promise you, has put in 10 to 15 years of
especially in Hollywood. I think people think that these overnight successes are like, but it's really, like every overnight success has a period, almost like you said, like these actors, even like they like sleep on someone's couch, they're the pool boy for somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Well, you've
done your time, done our time out there.
Okay. And what's the blog so people can read you?
Yeah, my blog is zetaconfidential.com. It is a subscription-based blog. It's $3 or $5 a month, so you do have to pay to read it. But I mean,
well worth it. Well
worth it. Well, there's loads of reviews. So
well, we have to. I'm gonna get a subscription, but we have to get one now so we can figure out what job that you were doing. That you're gonna blog about.
I'm gonna drop that blog this Monday. What's that? Today's the 1st. Yeah, I'll drop it this Monday. So
okay, I'll check it out. And then where can people find you like online and stuff?
Instagram, I am Zeta Morrison, Zeta. Morrison. Then Twitter is just Zeta Morrison. TikTok is Zeta Morrison.
Oh, are you big on TikTok these days? I feel like TikTok,
I'm not big on TikTok. Do you know what? That's the old head in me. Like, I just...
okay, you're 29. You're like,
I'm 29. Like, I'm understanding it, but I'm not wanting to. That's the problem. Do you have a Be Real?
That's a new one. That's the one. That's the first time I felt like a boomer. I'm like, okay, this Be Real thing. Like,
I've never heard of it. Oh my gosh.
I'll send it to you. You're definitely technical. I had to teach you how to install Chrome, so it's a very. But
I'm showing my age. I'm really showing my age. It's terrible. I know.
Thank you. Well, you're so beautiful. We wish you and I guess I was gonna say you and Jimmy, but I guess Jimmy.
Timmy. Yeah, just say Zimmy.
Yeah, Timmy. Oh my goodness. I'm Zimmy. I was watching all the clips, but my bad. I apologize.
No,
so
you're
we wishing Zimmy the best. Also, and when this ends, keep the browser open so it's gonna upload. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for taking the time. This is really fun. Also, I love this jacket that you're wearing, by the way. It's very
Thank
suits
you.
you very well. Where's it from?
I love a bomber. It's from Shein. I promoted for them like last week.
Okay, so yeah, shout out Shein. You know, anyone who's putting money in your pocket is a fan of ours.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I need you to write something and put me in it. What's going on? What are we doing together?
I'm on it.
Let's do something.
We're gonna write something about a beautiful woman who meets the man of her dreams at on a dating show.
On a reality show. We'll do something. On a reality
show. Well, also you should write. I feel like I'm telling you, girls like Lena Dunham, you know that TV show Girls, like no one would have ever cast Lena Dunham or Issa Rae as a lead in an HBO show. They didn't write it themselves. I tell everyone, like any actor, like write something, even like or like partner with them. Like I think Blackish, like Kenya created Blackish. He created that himself. Yeah. But like, and it's created by Kenya Barris. But like Kenya and Anthony Anderson had the same agent. And their agent was like, "Yo, like y'all should meet. Like y'all have very similar stories. Y'all have similar. I think Kenya's from Inglewood, and Anthony's from Compton, and so like growing up in kind of the hood in LA, and then moving to like Sherman Oaks, like the Valley, like a nicer area, and so like that partnership, like we need each other, right? Like actors and writers are like symbiotic, but like but you have a superpower, it's almost like a rapper who can produce their own beats, right? Yeah. It's like J. Cole, right? You don't need to wait around for anybody. So you should write. I'll send you some books.
Yeah, I do actually write a bit. I just don't know like if there's like a specific formula. Like if you go in my notes, I have so many like things that I've screenwritten.
I'll put you on game. I'll put you on game as far as screenwriting. Well, thank you for joining.
Of course.
Love having you. We're gonna have to do this again sometime. And yeah, definitely. I love it. All right, so Zeta Morrison, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, that was Zeta Morrison. Make sure you like, share, rate, review, comment, subscribe, all the engagement verbs. Follow me, DSONOIKI. Follow Zeta. You probably already know where to follow her. I think she said it in the episode. And I will catch you next episode.